When a man spends a long period of his life single, he learns to build his world in a way that doesn't depend on anyone else. This independence and self sufficiency become part of who he is, and it radiates in everything he does. Instead of waiting for someone else to bring happiness or direction, he takes full responsibility for creating that happiness himself. He knows how to cook his meals, manage his finances, make decisions without second guessing, and structure his daily life in a way that keeps him fulfilled. Over time, this independence turns into a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be spoken about. It can be felt by those around him, especially women who are naturally drawn to men who carry themselves with stability and strength. This kind of independence is rare because many people look for relationships to fill the gaps in their own lives. But a man who has been single long enough doesn't need someone to fill those gaps. He has already done the work to fill them himself. That's why women view him as magnetic. He doesn't chase love out of desperation or loneliness. Instead, love becomes a natural extension of the life he has already created. When a man can show through his actions that he is perfectly capable of thriving on his own, it signals to women that he would never be a burden or clingy partner. He can give rather than just take, and that dynamic makes him desirable. A self sufficient man also sets the tone in how he carries himself. He is not easily swayed by external pressures or the opinions of others. Because he doesn't rely on anyone to validate his existence, he speaks and acts with conviction. That conviction is magnetic because women are naturally drawn to men who seem secure in who they are. It makes them feel safe, valued, and inspired, knowing that this man is capable of standing firm when life brings challenges. His independence shows that he doesn't need someone to complete him, he wants someone to share his already full life with. That mindset changes everything. The beauty of being independent for so long is that he develops balance. He learns to enjoy his solitude, and when he steps into a relationship, it's not out of fear of being alone, but from a genuine desire to connect. That energy is powerful because women can sense the difference between a man who is desperate for attention and a man who chooses to give his attention selectively. It makes his presence more valuable, his affection more meaningful, and his attention something that feels earned. Independence doesn't make him closed off, it makes him intentional, and that intentionality increases his attractiveness on a deeper level. In the end, a man who has embraced his independence and mastered self sufficiency becomes the kind of man women admire and respect without him even trying. It's not about playing games or pretending to be something he's not. It's about living in a way that proves he is already whole, already strong, and already fulfilled, and that's why he becomes so attractive. When a man has been single for a long time, one of the most powerful qualities he naturally develops is emotional stability. Instead of relying on someone else to regulate his moods, give him constant reassurance, or carry his emotional burdens, he learns to face his feelings head on and process them in healthy ways. That doesn't mean he never feels pain, loneliness, or frustration. It simply means he becomes better at handling those emotions without letting them control his life. This emotional steadiness becomes a cornerstone of his character, and it's one of the traits that women find incredibly attractive because it offers a sense of calm and safety in a world that can often feel chaotic. When a man is emotionally stable, he doesn't overreact to small problems, and he doesn't allow temporary setbacks to shake his foundation. He has already lived through periods where he had to stand tall on his own, and that experience gives him resilience. Women can sense this kind of grounded energy almost immediately. It's the way he speaks without being defensive, the way he listens without interrupting, and the way he can handle disagreements without turning them into battles. Emotional stability communicates strength, not in a loud or controlling way, but in a steady, reassuring presence that makes people feel at ease around him. Over time, being single teaches a man that his emotions are his responsibility. Instead of looking for a partner to fix how he feels, he learns coping mechanisms, whether it's through focusing on his goals, investing in his hobbies, improving his health, or building a support system of trusted friends. This ability to take care of himself emotionally means that when he enters a relationship, he isn't coming from a place of neediness. Instead, he offers a balanced emotional foundation. Women are drawn to this because no one wants to feel like they are carrying the weight of another person's happiness. A man who can regulate his own emotions and remain calm under pressure is a man who brings peace, not drama, into a relationship. Another reason emotional stability is so powerful is because it creates trust. Women are far more likely to open up, share their feelings, and be vulnerable when they know the man they're speaking to won't overreact or dismiss them. A man who has mastered his emotions can hold space for her, listen without judgment, and respond with empathy. That kind of connection builds intimacy at a much deeper level. And it's something that many women crave, but rarely find. His stability allows her to relax, to lean in, and to know that no matter what storms life throws their way, he will remain steady. This doesn't mean he is emotionless or detached. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Emotional stability allows him to feel deeply, but instead of being consumed by those emotions, he manages them in a mature and thoughtful way. That balance of strength and sensitivity makes him magnetic because it reflects growth and self awareness. At the heart of it, emotional stability is what separates men who are ready for real, lasting love from those who are simply chasing connection to fill a void. A man who has mastered this through his time alone becomes not only attractive, but deeply desirable because women instinctively know that with him, they will find security, balance, and peace. Another powerful quality that develops in a man who has spent a longer period single is clarity about what he truly wants in a relationship. Time alone strips away distractions and forces him to reflect on who he is, what his values are, and what kind of partner would complement his life. Many people rush into relationships without really understanding themselves, and as a result, they often settle for someone who doesn't align with their deeper needs. But a man who has embraced solitude has had the chance to think carefully about what matters most to him, and this self awareness makes him far more intentional when it comes to love. Instead of chasing someone just for physical attraction, fleeting excitement, or the fear of being alone, he begins to prioritize qualities like loyalty, kindness, shared values, and emotional compatibility. He knows that chemistry and attraction are important, but he also understands that a long term partnership requires more than just initial sparks. The longer he's single, the clearer he becomes about his standards. And this clarity not only prevents him from wasting time in unhealthy relationships, but also allows him to recognize a truly great partner when she comes along. This clarity also shows up in how he carries himself. When a man knows what he wants, he doesn't appear desperate or confused. He doesn't cling to someone just because they give him temporary attention, nor does he tolerate behavior that doesn't align with his values. This quiet confidence is incredibly attractive because it communicates that he values himself and his time. Women respect and admire men who know where they're going in life and who they want beside them on that journey. His decisiveness provides direction, and in relationships, that sense of purpose is magnetic. Another benefit of this clarity is that it brings peace of mind. Instead of second guessing every interaction or overthinking what someone might feel, he trusts his instincts. If someone doesn't match his standards or show genuine interest, he moves on gracefully without bitterness. He understands that rejection or incompatibility isn't a reflection of his worth, it's simply a natural part of finding the right person. That mindset makes him stronger because he's not seeking validation from every woman he meets. Instead, he's looking for alignment, and that shift in perspective changes everything. For a woman, being with a man who has this kind of clarity feels safe and reassuring. She doesn't have to wonder if he's playing games, confused about his feelings, or unsure of what he wants. His intentions are clear because he has already done the inner work. That kind of certainty is rare, and it sets him apart from others who might still be figuring themselves out. Clarity, in essence, is power. It empowers him to say no when something doesn't feel right and yes when the right opportunity comes along. And when a man has spent enough time single to reach that level of self awareness, he no longer fears loneliness because he understands that the wrong relationship is far lonelier than being on his own. This wisdom makes him patient, selective, and ultimately more attractive to the right woman who will recognize his depth and intentionality. Another essential quality that develops in a man who has spent a significant amount of time single is independence. When a man learns to live on his own without relying on someone else for constant emotional or practical support, he naturally becomes stronger, more resourceful, and more grounded. Independence is one of those traits that makes a man not only more attractive to women, but also more fulfilled in his own life. It's the ability to stand tall, manage responsibilities, and create happiness without depending on another person to fill the void. During long stretches of singlehood, a man discovers how to handle life on his own terms. He learns how to take care of himself, manage his finances, build his career, and maintain his health without leaning on a partner to guide him. He may learn new skills like cooking, traveling solo, or developing hobbies that give him joy and purpose. These experiences teach him that he is capable of building a full and meaningful life by himself, and that realization gives him confidence. A man who can thrive alone is far more appealing than one who constantly needs someone else to hold him up. This independence also changes the way he approaches relationships. Instead of entering a relationship out of neediness or fear of being alone, he chooses to share his life because he genuinely wants to, not because he has to. That difference in mindset is profound. Women are naturally drawn to men who are self-sufficient because it signals strength and stability. A man who doesn't need a woman but desires one is far more attractive than a man who clings to a woman because he can't handle being single. Independence communicates that he is already whole, and that makes him a valuable partner rather than a burden. Another aspect of independence is emotional resilience. A man who has been single long enough learns to process his feelings on his own. He doesn't rely on someone else to constantly reassure him or fix his mood. He develops coping mechanisms, whether through self-reflection, fitness, meditation, or meaningful friendships. This emotional maturity prevents him from being overly reactive or insecure in relationships. Instead, he can remain calm and grounded even during challenges, and that stability provides comfort to the woman he's with. She doesn't feel like she has to carry the weight of his happiness because he has already built that foundation for himself. In addition, independence gives him the freedom to pursue his passions fully. Without constantly worrying about pleasing someone else, he has the time and space to chase his goals, develop his career, or grow his personal projects. When he eventually does enter a relationship, he brings with him a rich and full life rather than expecting someone else to create that richness for him. Women are drawn to men who have purpose and direction, and independence fuels that sense of drive. Ultimately, independence is not about rejecting love or pushing people away. It's about creating a strong foundation so that when love does come, it is built on strength rather than weakness. A man who is truly independent can love freely without fear because he knows that no matter what happens, he will always be able to stand on his own 2 feet. That is what makes him powerful, secure, and deeply attractive. Another powerful change that happens when a man spends a long period single is the clarity he develops about what he truly wants in a partner and in a relationship. Many times, men rush into relationships without much thought, driven by loneliness, physical attraction, or societal pressure. But when a man chooses to remain single for a longer time, he gains the space to reflect, to grow, and to really understand his values, boundaries, and expectations. This clarity becomes one of his greatest strengths because it prevents him from settling for less than he deserves or wasting time in connections that don't align with his long term vision. When a man has had the time to explore himself and his goals, he naturally becomes more selective. He no longer feels the urgency to accept just anyone who shows him attention. Instead, he looks for someone who fits into his lifestyle, supports his ambitions, and shares his core values. He has had enough experience, whether through past relationships, friendships, or personal growth, to recognize red flags early. And because he's not afraid of being alone, he doesn't ignore those red flags out of fear. This self awareness allows him to avoid toxic dynamics and seek out healthier, more fulfilling connections. Another benefit of this clarity is that it changes how he interacts with women. Instead of trying to impress every woman he meets or bending over backward to win approval, he approaches dating with authenticity. He is comfortable being himself, knowing that the right woman will appreciate him for who he is, not for a mask he puts on. Women can sense this difference immediately. A man who is secure, clear, and purposeful in his intentions radiates confidence and maturity, which is far more attractive than desperation or uncertainty. This period of being single also allows him to refine his standards. He learns what qualities truly matter in a long term partner: kindness, loyalty, respect, emotional maturity over superficial traits. He starts to realize that the beauty of a relationship lies in shared growth, mutual support, and alignment of vision, not just initial attraction or temporary excitement. This shift in perspective ensures that when he finally chooses someone, it's not out of impulse, but out of genuine compatibility. In addition, having clarity makes his future relationship stronger from the very beginning because he knows who he is and what he wants. He communicates better. He can express his needs and boundaries with honesty without fear of rejection. He doesn't play games, nor does he tolerate unnecessary drama. This straightforwardness creates trust and stability, which women deeply value. They feel safe knowing that they are with a man who isn't confused, hesitant, or unsure about his intentions. The most empowering part of this clarity is that it gives him peace of mind. He no longer questions whether he is missing out or whether he is making the wrong choices. He trusts his judgment because it is built on experience and self awareness. And this peace is magnetic. It shows in how he carries himself, how he treats others, and how he builds his future. In the end, a man who has gained clarity through his single years becomes far more prepared for lasting love. He knows himself, he knows what he's looking for, and he isn't afraid to wait for it. That kind of certainty makes him not only stronger, but also highly desirable to the right woman who values the same things. Another profound transformation that happens when a man spends a long time being single is the deep level of independence he develops, both emotionally and practically. Independence is not just about being able to take care of your basic needs, but about building a life where you feel whole, grounded, and fulfilled without relying on someone else to complete you. When a man embraces his single years with the mindset of growth, he learns how to create happiness from within. This independence becomes a powerful trait, one that influences not only how he lives his life, but also how he approaches future relationships. Men who have been single for longer periods often learn how to enjoy their own company. They don't feel the need to constantly fill silence with chatter or surround themselves with people just to avoid loneliness. Instead, they use this time to pursue passions, explore new interests, and strengthen friendships. This creates a strong sense of self because when you are comfortable alone, you are less likely to cling to someone out of fear. Women find this extremely attractive because it shows that he is secure, mature, and not looking for a relationship to fix his life, but rather to enhance it. Another important aspect of independence is financial and lifestyle freedom. A man who spends time single often gets to make choices solely based on his goals and priorities. He builds his career, improves his skills, invests in his dreams, and creates stability without distraction. This makes him more prepared for the future because when he eventually enters a relationship, he is not coming from a place of lack, but from abundance. He is able to contribute, support, and lead with confidence. A woman can immediately sense the difference between a man who has built his life with intention and one who is still figuring out how to stand on his own. This independence also strengthens his emotional resilience. Without the constant validation of a partner, he learns how to manage his own emotions, handle setbacks, and stay motivated through challenges. He develops discipline, patience, and a calm mindset that doesn't waver easily. This kind of emotional strength is what allows him to remain steady when relationships hit rough patches. Instead of panicking, chasing, or begging, he stays grounded, knowing that he is capable of handling life on his own. Ironically, this independence makes women want him even more because it signals that he is not needy or desperate. He is a man of choice, not of chance. Most importantly, independence gives him the freedom to choose love consciously, not out of compulsion. He doesn't seek a relationship to fill a void, he seeks it to share his already fulfilling life. This mindset creates stronger, healthier partnerships because both people bring their wholeness to the table. A woman feels valued when she knows a man doesn't need her just to survive. He chooses her because she truly adds meaning to his already stable life. In the end, independence is not about pushing others away. It's about building yourself up so strongly that when love comes, it adds to your life instead of becoming your life. And that is the kind of strength and self sufficiency that makes a man stand out in the most powerful way.